More than 7 years ago, when I took mushrooms for the first time, machine elves came to me with a series of important messages about love, and the first one of them was that we, humans, do not understand what love is and how it works. Later, I was able to gain very good insight into what unconditional metaphysical love really is, having an amazing opportunity to visit the outer dimensional realms made of transcendental love, the type that we don't know on Earth. I also had this incredible experience of meeting our Creator, who showed me how we're all made of amazing loving energy and how we're always surrounded by it. But it's been only in the last few months that I've had the opportunity to learn about the difficulties and even dangers of earthly love, and in all these years I never really had a chance to discuss what it's like to love in earthly reality. In my years of offering consultations, I came across a lot of people who describe in detail how they're struggling with this most important feeling in our lives, and I think it's time I talked about this in detail, because we all need a lot of help with understanding the difference between earthly and outer dimensional love, and how to deal with it on a daily basis. It is a difficult subject, and I finally feel equipped and experienced in the right tools and knowledge, which will allow me to give you the insight into how to navigate this emotion while being immersed in this dense physical realm. The premise of the video is simple. Human love is primitive and sometimes can be very dangerous, and you need to learn how to handle it. Are you ready for my favorite phrase? This is a very important video that you need to watch until the end. Once you do, you'll understand why. Now, I don't want you to skip this part where I ask for support. You know why it is important, and if you love what I do and want to say thank you, you can go into the video description, join, transfer and donate to help me with this channel. This is a very important subject that can mean a lot to you, so I hope you can appreciate my efforts. Talk to me about your problems or buy merchandise. You can easily show me some of that love I will talk about here, and it will be an important expression of your gratitude. Thanks a million. Right off the bat, I need to explain the difference between conditional and unconditional love, as this is a huge misconception that is being perpetuated by many spiritual people in our community. As you might have noticed, I have probably never used the phrase unconditional love in all my years of recording videos, and there's an important reason for that. Unconditional love is practically non-existent on Earth. I know it can be a bit of a disappointment for some of you, but speaking realistically, our human reality stops us from loving anyone unconditionally. We all need certain type of reinforcement and feedback in return for love we give to be able to continue dispensing that feeling ourselves. Even love of a parent to a child that is so often used as an example of unconditional love has its limits, and once the child becomes constantly abusive towards the parent, it's only a matter of time before that parent will start staying away from the child, and eventually the feeling will disappear. All other types of love we experience here in this reality are strictly conditional and based on the feeling of being gratified by exchange of services. As long as it is balanced, love will exist, but as soon as it stops being beneficial for one of the sides, it goes away immediately. It is very important that you understand this because it is the main mechanism behind how we behave in this reality and what we're driven by. It will be beneficial for you to listen to what I have to say in order to understand yourself better and to be able to open up to the possibility of transcending the boundaries of earthly love. And you'll see how important it is in your relationship with other humans. Irrespectively of how harsh or materialistic this might sound, earthly love on the most basic level is in reality a game of calculated losses and risks. It is a balance sheet of what we get and how much we give. It's all about what's to be gained and how much we need to spend in order to get some of that feeling back. I want to start this video by discussing the problems that are associated with earthly love and offer some solutions to the most common issues in relation to us mishandling this emotion. There are two types of people in this world, takers and givers. An earthly romantic relationship is pretty much a fight for love between these two types. It's all about the question, are you being loved enough for what you offer? It's often imbalanced and results in one of two people wanting more and being unsatisfied for most of the time. Thus, it is crucial to find the right person who will be willing to offer to you as much as you offer to them. Most people get themselves into a relationship without doing the necessary work to acquire understanding and appreciation for who they are and what they're looking for. It usually results in a complete lack of self-awareness and in finding a random partner that has nothing to do with our needs. Depending on what type of frequency we're in, we will attract the same type of vibration into our life, very often resulting in a surprising revelation about who we really are in a given moment. This is why one of the most important aspects of psychedelic therapy is getting a valuable insight into your higher self and earthly self to understand what you're made of. It's very difficult to be in a happy relationship without going through these inner journeys. It's also important to understand the concept of the human loving potential given to you at birth that can be imagined as a basket of a particular size that needs to be filled with love. Some of these baskets are big and some are small, hence the requirement for loving will be different. Some people are happy with little feeling acquired from one person, and some people need fame and admiration from thousands and still won't be completely happy with the amount of love they get. There are 3 combinations of 2 people connecting when it comes to their love potential. Only one scenario with both of them having the same high potential will result in a strong and permanent bond immediately. When one of the partners is an empty basket, the other side immediately becomes the teacher, risking their peace of mind or even sanity. When both of the baskets are empty, the relationship will result in exhausting toxicity, hardly ever passing the temporary fascination stage. It is important that as we embark on the quest for love, we need to know how much of it will make us happy. Very often, in order to understand this, we will need to look at our parents because they are the ones who partially create the loving potential during our childhood. It's important to understand that empty baskets who are unable to generate love for themselves and others are rare, but it does happen. So if you're one of these people, you need to know that this is not natural for a human to be suspended in a state of emotional void, and that this can be fixed with the help of the right person or psychedelics. Should you find a person like that, make sure that you're aware of what you're getting yourself into, as this might be a challenge sometimes that you won't have the necessary equipment to deal with. Very often these people were hurt so deeply in the past that they're too scared of going through this again, and they cannot force themselves to love, and very often it takes a long time for the trauma to heal. Not everyone is cut out for the constant game of a teacher and a student, or a parent and a child. And this role playing also applies to people with different inner strength and confidence levels. And since we end up very often with random people, another earthly problem that we're facing here is not being able to build communication channels and having problematic contact with our partner. I made a whole video explaining this, but in a nutshell, the person you love needs to be similar or ideally identical to you, both in terms of their opinions and their ability to open up to honest and unfiltered communication. Don't even think for a moment that you will be happy with someone who has different values and principles than you, or someone who can't be honest. It's highly unlikely, although it can be changed and taught. Then there is the exclusivity problem. As much as our generous spiritual ideology should allow us to have the ability to share love with everyone we want, the nature of this earthly reality is governed by concrete limitations of time and space, which means that our romantic love needs to be usually focused and directed towards one person. The phrase, "I love you," is a binding contract to stay mutually exclusive. The moment you say it, you belong to someone and you become somewhat of a property. This, of course, leads to all kinds of problems with possessiveness and envy. Loyalty in this case will be of utmost importance. Thus, if you wish to find a partner to share love with, make sure they understand and accept this physical arrangement of exclusivity. This, of course, shouldn't be mistaken with the loving attitude expressed towards everyone who comes into our lives and of unconditional love that I will explain in a moment. But this issue is tightly related to respect that partners should treat each other with, and this is a big one. It is very rare that ours or our partner's feelings, space, privacy, and dignity are respected in the hurricane of intense emotions, and it is so important. It is difficult to talk about loyalty, respect, and exclusivity without mentioning sex, as this seems to be one of the most misunderstood aspects of love. Under no circumstances should sex and physical attraction ever be mistaken for love. I've made many videos exploring this subject, and you need to remember that sex is a strong byproduct of acceptance, love, and connection. Any form of sexual addiction is most often a hidden need for love. A healthy sexual relationship is a strong and crucial facilitator of earthly love, and it should remain nothing else but that, if you wish to build a stable and lasting relationship. Polygamy is a possibility on Earth, but it is a complex arrangement that requires a few understanding partners with similar needs. Machine Elves discussed with me all of the above in detail, and the problematic nature of earthly love appears to be limited only to this realm. It seems to be very Earth-specific. Yet the most easily applicable solutions are of metaphysical nature, and I'll discuss them in a moment. Now I would like to talk about a more serious aspect of earthly love: the dangers that this feeling can carry when cultivated in an unhealthy environment or in a connection with an unhealthy individual. It seems that one of the biggest problems with earthly love is that it is completely out of control. It's mostly governed by emotions and feelings that are being created beyond our ability to comprehend, let alone us being in charge of them. As a result of this, earthly love can destroy anyone's life at any point, and there's very little you can do about it. Humans are equipped in this seemingly pointless mechanism of attachment and falling in love, which disables us from acting logically and rationally, and this easily can cause unwanted and needless suffering. Just look at the phrase. Falling means losing balance. As an experienced, or should I say damaged human, it seems that it's very easy to come to a conclusion that the payoff for falling in love with someone is sometimes just not worth the risk, and once you go through life, you realize that you have to be very careful with dispensing your emotions. So always make sure it's the right person before you start losing control. But once we start loving, there's very little we can do in terms of turning back and switching off our emotions, and it's easy to get addicted to love or to our partner. Only a few strong individuals can stay rational in this situation. Very often we don't even get to control who we fall in love with, which puts us in a position where we might be getting attached to the worst possible person for us. Should this happen, it is important to understand that love is an extremely powerful emotion that can bring out the most extreme behaviors and negative emotions in us. And if we end up having feelings for a toxic person, it could mean getting in an emotional roller coaster that can end up changing us into the worst version of ourselves. Although uplifting, love can also make us negative and insecure. It's very easy to end up in a perpetual hell of jealousy that you might not even know that you're capable of once you start being scared of losing that most precious person in your life. In moments like that, it is important to remember that these are all lessons and that all of it is temporary. Even the most dramatic and traumatic love usually has the chance to be healed with time. Then there's the danger of ending up in an abusive relationship with people whose mental problems we won't get to see on time before falling in love. If you're susceptible to mental disturbances like bipolar disorder or depression, you might be subconsciously looking for a matching frequency, which means that you will be prone to toxic relationships. That's why it is crucial to go through that self-discovery process as early as possible in life, ideally with the help of psychedelics. Should you ever find yourself in a relationship with an egocentric, self-centered narcissist, don't ever think these people can be changed. It's rare, and you're much more likely to end up with someone feeding off of your and other people's attention to boost their sense of superiority, and you'll always play a role of a punching bag for their ego. The other type of toxic personality you can end up being with is a perpetual victim who wants to attract sympathy and love by always blaming you for everything they do. In this situation, it's more of a mechanism in action rather than a dysfunctional personality trait, so it's still possible to fix them. But if you ever find yourself with anyone who is fake and manipulative or just simply a liar, you need to know that you're looking here at a definition of a highly toxic relationship that you need to fix or get out of as fast as possible. It's rare that you can change someone's habits and convince them about the value of telling the truth. Of course, the worst type of lying that's negatively affecting earthly love is cheating, both physical and emotional. This is usually a clear signal that you're no longer or not yet fulfilling a given role or a desire, and that either something needs to be improved or it's time to end the relationship. And of course, the biggest danger of earthly love is the end of it. Breakups literally can kill. Not only are you suffering when falling in love with the wrong person, but also when someone disappears, the pain is amplified to an unbearable degree. Your feelings become a maze of suffering, and your mind will start playing tricks on you, sometimes trying to justify a solution that's clearly not right for you. And the worst part is that there is no real remedy for that moment. As a result of all of this earthly loving, you could end up lonely, distrustful, and simply love damaged. No matter how rich or famous you are, love is that one thing that can bring you back down to earth and either amplify all the amazing things that you're experiencing, or it can destroy you, and there's no immunity that you can give yourself to be protected from it. And you shouldn't. Love is an integral part of our human experience here, and you need to learn as much about it as your time here on Earth allows you to. In fact, any emotional problems in your life will be caused by you blocking the flow of love through you. You will only experience being a human fully when you open yourself up to that powerful emotion. If you're struggling with it, there is no better love medicine than mushrooms. It's like injecting love into your body. Mushrooms allow you to eliminate fear and become that true loving you. It's important that you pay attention to synchronicities, as very often they can be a sign of you having to concentrate on a particular person, or one that you're supposed to act lovingly towards in a given situation. Remember that love is used as a vehicle for lessons, and you will need to learn how to identify the teachers who come into your life. They can show up in a loving capacity or they can represent the opposite. But very often their job will be to somehow teach you how to love more, either through amplifying your existing feelings or through creating polarity that will help you define loving feelings in yourself. It's not a problem to reject a person, but it is impossible to reject given lessons that you have to go through. It's important to know when the lessons end, and I would encourage you to watch the video about relationships explained. These human bonds eventually fulfill their purpose, and very often breaking up is all that's left. It's painful, but it's necessary. It's crucial that you understand when, how, and why these lessons end. Obviously, this video wouldn't be complete without mentioning the issue of self-love. It's impossible to give love to somebody else without loving oneself, and this can only be possible when you have the possibility to become the best version of yourself. This can be done through controlling your ego, because ego forgets that we're all one, that we're all really a part of the infinitely loving Creator, and that we came here to awake in us manifesting powers while being cut off from the energy. It's important to be able to identify when we're in the presence of healthy love, and this is when we feel positive, secure, protected, and compassionate. When we engage in selfless giving, when we make someone feel uplifted, valued, and respected. But there's one more important sign of true love, and it's ego death. Ego death is not only reserved for high-dose psychedelic trips. A removal of ego between two people is a sign of a deeply and truly loving relationship. Love is a connection to become one, and when you no longer need to prove anything to each other, when you don't have any more secrets, and when you don't need to pretend anything, taking off all of your masks and switching all of the filters, that's a sign of a removed ego, and that's when you know that you're in a truly loving relationship with another human. So all we are left with is the aspect of this cosmic love we're all made of outside of this realm. Once you experience outer-dimensional, metaphysical, and unconditional love, possible mainly through the use of psychedelics, this should be your goal from now on to be introduced into yours and other people's lives. This is particularly difficult for us, psychonauts, who had the chance to venture to other dimensions and experience firsthand the blissful state of infinite and all-encompassing love. Many of us want to reproduce and transfer this cosmic energy that we have here only a fraction of into our and other people's lives, and it is usually a difficult and sometimes painfully disappointing experience. But it's important to remember that before you concentrate on unconditional love, first you need to master earthly, conditional love, and you'll achieve this by self-sacrificing yourself in a non-destructive way to make somebody's happiness your priority. This is the highest form of earthly love and the closest thing to the transcendental, unconditional love we are all immersed in once we leave Earth. This exercise will not only help you to be happier and more liberated from earthly ego, but it will also protect you from getting hurt and love damaged. Once you no longer expect for your ego to be boosted and fed, there is nothing that can cause pain. It is difficult, but it is possible, and it is the highest form of mastering human life. The ability to look at other humans as their energy form and as higher beings rather than their earthly physical vessel will let you realize that there are literally thousands of souls around you who can love you and who can be loved by you. Practicing unconditional love will let you realize that everyone is a loving potential, and that the key to earthly love is not chasing after those who you think should be loved, but those who want to love you. This ability will help you generate this feeling on your own before you return to the spirit world, where you will train yourself in creating love throughout different places in the universe. But to get there, first you need to master and enjoy the hardships of earthly love with all its dangers, imperfections, and pains. Love 434. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. Like this video and share it with everyone you care about. For merchandise, go to shop.b434.com. Leave your email address at news.b434.com. Visit the website of the artist and the musician I featured here. For more info or contact, visit b434.com and join 434's social media on YouTube, Facebook, BitChute, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, Telegram, VK, TikTok, Tumblr, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, and a few other ones you can see on the screen now. All links in the video description and at b434.com.